Building the muscle after 50 with shoulder pain is hard enough as it is. But before you jack it all in because the pain has got the better of you, I'm going to share this video. And as long as you do some of the things in this video on a regular, you should see some major league improvements. If you've got pain in your shoulder just about here, unless it's so painful that you really should be going to a doctor, and you should always be going to a doctor first, it doesn't really matter whether it's a bicep tendonitis, rotator cuff issue, or an impingement. The major thing is to find the root cause. And the root cause could be one of three things. It could be compensation. It could be muscle imbalance. Or it could be bad posture. Now, I'm Psymon H, the naturally jacked 53-year-old. And in this video, we're going to get down to the business and the root cause of shoulder pain. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some exercises with you that you can do whether you've got shoulder pain or whether you just want to bulletproof your shoulders for the future. And then I'm going to leave you with some gym adjustments that you can make to keep your shoulders safe. Now, are you ready to grow? Come on, let's go. You want to know if you've got a shoulder impingement? Here's a test that I want you to carry out. Watch this. Now, I'm going to stand to the side. I'm going to have my palms facing forward. Now, as you can see, I've got a bit of a hyperextended chest. My shoulders are retracted. My head is pushed back. Now, I'm going to, while I raise my arms with my palms facing forward, up over my head, I'm going to push my tongue into the roof of my mouth. So it should look like this. Now, if for some reason you're looking like this, or ouch, your shoulder starts aching, it's quite possible that you are inwardly rotated and that your shoulders are now grinding and banging on your bone and on tissue, which means you've got a shoulder impingement. Okay, now we've got that test out of the way. As I stated before, a shoulder impingement can come from one of three areas. The first area is compensation. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but what I will say is, I'll give you a quick example. So your pec minor may be overworking or working more than your serratus anterior to protract your shoulders, which leads to a whole bunch of problems, which ends up taking you all the way to the door of a shoulder impingement. Number two, upper body imbalances. Now here's a super duper common one that we find, especially in this modern world of sitting down, is that your upper traps become more powerful, more active than your lower traps, which stay undeveloped and weak. Now, if you do a lot of sitting down, working at a computer, sit down driving, this can affect that situation. And then what ends up happening is that it then becomes harder to move your shoulders in all the directions. Very closely matched to problem number two is problem number three, and that is bad posture. You see, when you have bad posture, this comes from that sedentary style that we have in this modern day, where we're sitting a lot, playing video games, driving, using the computer, texting away on our phones. That leads to a whole host of issues later down the road. And usually that ends up with some kind of shoulder impingement. Now that we have the test completed and we've studied the root causes of shoulder impingement, tick, it's time to show you the most powerful 5 exercises that you can do to help any of those 3 problems and to also to bulletproof your shoulders. Now, this isn't a one and done situation. You need to be consistent with these exercises, at least 3 times a week. Oh, let's give you 2 to 3 times a week, every week. This will help you to avoid shoulder impingement, and if you do have any of those 3 problems, this will help to eliminate them and get your shoulders better so you can get back on track and build muscle after the big 5-0. Let's go with exercise number 1. We're going to start with a segmental T-spine mobilization exercise. All you'll need is a foam roller, and while it looks like just an extension over a roller, we're going to add a few components to make sure that we get the brain involved to create those neuromuscular pathways. We're going to start by lying so that we're over the foam roller and it is targeted towards our lower thoracic spine, which is at the bottom of our shoulder blades. Place your hands on your temple and put your feet flat on the ground. I want you to inhale as you extend over the roller and exhale as you return. You're going to do 3 full repetitions. From the roller down, nothing should be moving. Now, if you do have a weak neck, all you'll need to do is slip your hands behind your head to support your neck. For exercise 2, I want you to stay in the extended position over the roller, but this time you're going to do 3 side bends on each side, moving your armpit towards your hip. Now, if you want to get deeper into this and more intense, I want you to slide down the roller and do the exercise number 1 and exercise number 2 3 more times, slide down the roller another 2 times and perform the exercise with 3 repetitions each. Now we've got the thoracic spine mobilized and moving, let's go after the shoulders. Now for exercise 3, we're going to grab hold of a band looped around an overhead anchor. We're going to wrap the end of the band around our hand. Here, we're going to be actively leaning over and pushing down on the band with a straight arm with thumbs up. You're going to go into a hip hinge and lower your head lower than the level of your shoulders. You have to be pushing down at the same time or it won't work. It will hurt. Come back up all the way to neutral and perform this for 2 to 3 sets of 15 repetitions. Now, before we get to exercise number 4, let me just tell you, doesn't matter if you've got a shoulder impingement on your left side, you need to be doing the exercises on both sides. Why? Because we don't want to create any imbalances in strength or mobility. That's why you'll need to do the exercises on the left side as well as the right side. Now, let's get to exercise number 4. For exercise 4, we're going to work on external rotation to get those shoulders to open up. Now, loop a thin band at about hip height. Slip your hand inside the band to create a little resistance. Now we're going to go external rotation to about a 90-degree angle, and then we're going to adapt the shoulders and externally rotate again, and then we're going to push out in a V before working backwards to the beginning of the repetition. Now, you're going to do this for 2 sets of 10 repetitions. Now, for that last exercise, all you'll need is a thin band. And when I say thin, I mean it's thinner than my finger. Now, this exercise may take you a while to master, but master it you must do because it's one of the best exercises. Now, let's get to the final exercise. Exercise number 5, let's go! When training traps, the upper trap muscles become overactive, leaving the lower traps weak. Lower trapezius muscles help the scapular retraction, which is pulling your shoulder blades back and down. They also help maintain neutral spine alignment and prevent your shoulders from rounding forward. This exercise takes advantage of a phenomenon called reciprocal inhibition. This is where you can activate one muscle while shutting down the opposing muscle. You can see me doing this with adduction of the shoulder. The muscles of the lats, teres major, and pecs contribute to adduction while shutting off the upper traps. The retraction portion of this movement fires up the lower traps. I loop a resistance band around about elbow height and wrap it just above my elbow. I step out and get tension and a little adduction, then squeeze my shoulder blades back and down, holding for 5 seconds before relaxing everything and repeating 5 to 6 reps on each side. Okay, to really turn it up on that shoulder impingement, you need to make a few adjustments in the gym. So here's the first adjustment. If you're used to doing the traditional hypertrophy training, which is when you're doing an exercise, you're doing a 2-second up, 2-second down, and you're finding that's really screwing with your shoulder impingement, maybe you want to consider something like slow motion or high intensity training. Now, I've got various videos on my platform that tells you about slow motion or high intensity training, but if you want a ready-made program that you don't even have to think about, you just have to put it on your phone and press play, check the link in the bio. Now, adjustment number 2. You might want to adjust your warm-ups. Now, here's a really good way of making sure that you do those 5 exercises at least 3 times a week. When you do an upper body workout, depending on your split, you might want to incorporate these 5 exercises in your warm-up. That could go a long way to making sure that your shoulders are in a good and prime position to take on your weight training session. Also, it will help to mobilize your thoracic spine and to get everything geared up to have a solid workout. Okay, adjustment number 3. If you have shoulder press exercises inside your workouts and you use a barbell or a Smith machine or even dumbbells where you're having your elbows out here, let's change that. Let's adjust it. When you have your shoulders out here, they're very vulnerable. And if now just add a shoulder impingement here and you're really asking for trouble. Or at the very least, your shoulder's not getting any better. So let's tidy that up by bringing your elbows in front of you. So you could either find a machine where you've got access to a neutral grip here, where your shoulders are in front of you and everything starts at a 90-degree angle here. Or if you're going to use a dumbbell like this, you can start here with your dumbbells and press them up here. This keeps your shoulder capsule much safer, less vulnerable. Adjustment number 4. If you do a flat bench press, stop that now. Exchange your flat benching for a machine, or if you're going to do a press, use dumbbells. But here we go. Take a slight incline on the bench. And now instead of using that same motion you would in a barbell press where everything is fixing a 90, leaving that shoulder kind of vulnerable to extra stress and load, what we're going to do if we're using a dumbbell or a machine is that we're going to turn our elbows in so they're at about a 45-degree angle. Keeps them shoulders safe. Now, while we're talking about exercises for chest, flies seem to be a popular one. If you have a gym that has a fly machine, you might want to use a fly machine. If you don't, you just need to tighten up your form with flies. When I say tighten up your form, a lot of people will open up wide here and believe that is the best way to do a fly. The problem with having your hands out here is that your shoulders are very much in that unstable position. You're leaving your shoulders very vulnerable. So what we want to do is create a smaller circle. A smaller circle is a circle around here where I'm kind of keeping everything just around that 90-degree angle, keeping the weight at about 90-degree angle to my chest. Now, my objective isn't to fly out here. My objective is to fly back here, to bring my elbows back here, slightly arch my chest here, which puts a little bit more stress on the pectorals and less stress on the front delts. Now, the last adjustment I want you to make isn't such an adjustment to anything. What it is just changing your mindset to saying, after you've done an upper body workout, or regardless of doing an upper body workout, on a daily, we want to be trying to open up our chest muscles and stretch the muscles that are aligned in our up here and all the way down our arm. The best way to do that is to find yourself a brick wall. And you can do this at home in the morning, because especially if you do a lot of driving, sitting down at a computer, you're very closed in here. Then you end up walking like this and everything is inwardly rotated. Doesn't help your shoulder impingement. So what we want to do is find a wall. Now, I'm just going to use the edge of my the edge of my stand here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this part of my palm up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to be like this. And all I'm going to do is have a straight arm here, but I'm going to turn my face away from my arm. And now I can feel that glorious stretch from the palm of my hand all the way up my arm, my forearm, all the way through my bicep. And now I can feel that pure stretch in the chest. Do that for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes each side. Do that on a daily, and I'll tell you what, you're gonna be going from that to a silverback stance here, where your shoulders feel much more open, your chest is open and up, and everything is very much aligned and stretched out. Too many times we're walking like this, and you probably haven't noticed, but a lot of that comes from a bad posture, compensations, shoulder impingement that makes shoulder lean inwardly. Now do this every day. That, turn your head away, and you're gonna start to feel all of this open up. Now, that's the end of this video. And if you like this video, do me the courtesy of putting your finger on that like button. After that, if you're not a subscriber, what the hell are you doing? Because this is the place to find tips and tricks for building muscle after the Big 5-0. Please share, and I will see you on the next bout of building muscle after the Big 5-0. Peace.